All right, I want to cover a couple other prophecies as well that are very, very important. And everybody that really loves the Lord should be watching out for these events, because these are the events that haven't happened yet, but we know by the news and what we're seeing is they are going to happen. The fruition of these prophecies are going to happen shortly. And what am I talking about? Let's go right down to it. Again, forgive me for scrolling down. But if you just found my YouTube channel and you want to go over to my website, here is the address for my website. Just click the link and you'll be able to access my book today for free. And it's up to date, July the 15th, 2013. Now today I talked a little bit about the prophecy being fulfilled with the gas and the oil, God's promise. And if you just tuned in, you might want to go to my website or watch my YouTube video on that as well. But let me scroll down and get to the heart of the matter here, because this is one of the major prophecies that we know we're in the middle of the birth pangs with. And of course, Jesus told Paul about the call for peace and safety, as you'll see here in 1 Thessalonians chapter 5, verses 3 and 4. It says this, "For when they shall say, peace and safety, then sudden destruction cometh upon them as travail upon a woman with child, and they shall not escape. But ye, brethren, are not in the darkness, that day should overtake you as a thief." Now, just for the sake of those who may not know, you just have to understand that the Lord showed us that at the time that the Arabs in Israel were going to be talking for peace and are striving for this peace and security in the Middle East, that is the time that there was going to be war. How do we know that? It's because the Lord told us there was going to be sudden destruction. So we know that it's going to come on quickly. We know that we're in the birth pangs of this. We see it happening. Now, one of the things that I wanted to share with you is the fact that John Kerry is on his way over to the Middle East again. He's going over, I believe, this week or the beginning of next week, and they're going to start to try to begin the process of trying to get the stalled peace talks out of the stalled position and again active. But we know the outcome already because the Lord showed us what it was going to be. Why they're talking peace and safety, war is going to come, some kind of destruction. So in my book, and many, many years ago, I warned you what was going to happen, especially last year or over a year ago when Egypt threw out Mubarak. I told you who was going to get elected. I told you the results of what that was going to be, and some of the results that I said the Muslim Brotherhood was going to be elected. They did get elected, even though they said that they never go into the elections, which they lied, and I even said that they lied and they would go in. And I also said that Morsi was going to go and he was going to be elected as a Muslim Brotherhood leader, which he did. And I also said that the peace process between Israel and Egypt, the peace agreement that was in place since 1979 under Jimmy Carter, that was going to go away. Now, Morsi did get elected. He was the Muslim Brotherhood. He was installed for a year, and now he's been ousted. But just like the Muslim Brotherhood under Morsi was asking, they were saying, we're going to get rid of the peace agreement with Israel. Now, we're still watching to see if Morsi comes back or this new group takes, who's in the process of going actually into civil war. That's what we're looking for. That's what it looks like is going to happen. But there's a new group now that is saying the same thing that I've been warning about, and I wanted to bring this to your attention. So let's go over to the article, and you'll see that this came out on the 15th. So Egypt's Tamarud movement suspend peace deal with Israel. And this is what it says. The Tamarud movement, which was a leading force in Egypt's protest movement, has held a press conference and called for a temporary suspension of the Camp David Accords signed between the two countries. This is the 1979 accord that was signed between Egypt, Anwar Sadat, Mohammed Begin from Israel, and Jimmy Carter, who actually got them to sit down. It says, according to them, the Accords provision, as well as Israel and the international peacekeeping forces presented in the peninsula, prevent Egypt from dispatching additional forces into Sinai, thus hindering their ability to halt terrorist active there. So, whatever the reason is, we know that eventually the peace agreement is going to go out the window. We know this for sure. How? Let me go back to my site for a second. Well, definitely we know that there's going to be war, is because when you take a look at the Psalm 83 war, and when you look who's involved, you'll see that Egypt is involved in that war. This war hasn't taken place yet. And so we know that when Egypt is showing signs of getting rid of a long-standing peace since 1979, it's just going down the road to fulfill the Psalm 83 prophecy, of which Egypt is going to be involved in it. This is one of the reasons why we're starting to see so much activity in the Middle East, especially right now, Egypt and Syria. Syria is in a massive contention for who's going to stay in. Either Bashar al-Assad will stay in his government, or there's going to be he'll be repelled out of the government, and we'll have a new force that is backed, by the way, fighting Bashar al-Assad from the Al-Qaeda movement, of which is an enemy of Israel. And I've stated this many, many times, that the people in charge of the rebel group stated that when they get rid of Bashar al-Assad, their attention is going to be focused back on Israel, and they will attack Israel. So in either case, whatever scenario, we know that Syria and Egypt are going to be involved in it. And this is why we know from what we see in the writings of Paul, when they're calling for peace and safety, that's when this sudden destruction takes place. Now, when that happens, I believe that it'll be a fairly quick war, just like the 1967 and the 1973 war were, and Israel will take up more land that they had previously. And this is obviously, this is going to tick off the rest of the Islamic nations, including Russia, who is aligned with all these nations. And then you will see the second war, the Ezekiel chapter 38 and 39 war, come against Israel in the last days. So, let me just say that we're starting to see these things take place. Now, in the news, talking about the failing peace process, and we're seeing the footprints of this war coming, there's been a couple articles I'd like to share with you. The mortar shell hits the Golan Heights. And let me go to that one first. It says a mortar shell exploded Sunday in an area of the Druze community. And again, now if you don't know, the Golan Heights is a contention between, or contended area between the Syrians and the Israelis. This land, the Golan Heights, was lost in war. Syria wants it back. Syria, Bashar al-Assad said that he was going to get this territory back, whether it was through peace or war. And we know, again, obviously, it will have to be an attempt by war, because peace is not in the scriptures as far as the Psalm 83 war. So the Golan Heights, anytime you see the articles about this, that becomes relevant, very relevant. Now, the firing of the shell is considered another instance of fighting between the Syrian rebels and the government forces spilling over into Israeli territory. So little by little, we're seeing the earmarks of this coming war, the Psalm 83 war. Here we go. Now, this was yesterday. The Sinai, the terrorists opened fire on IDF position. So just the skirmishes show the birth-pang signs of what is going to be fulfilled shortly. That's Psalm 83 war. Unidentified gunmen opened fire on an IDF. Now, if you're new, I know that there are a lot of the younger generation may not know, but the IDF stands for Israeli Defense Force, position on the border with the Sinai Desert Sunday evening. Now, the two masked gunmen reportedly opened fire before escaping into the desert. Now, this isn't new. If you've been following what I've been posting over these many years, I keep saying and keep warning that the Arabs, that the enemies of Israel are not going to stop attacking the Israelis until they get what they lost back from those previous wars. Now, we have the Golan Heights for Syria, and we have East Jerusalem that the Palestinians want. And they're constantly, as we know from the Palestinians who are in the Gaza, and they are also mentioned in the Psalm 83. So the Palestinians are continuing, just like we see Syria constantly saying that, they're enemies of Israel and we are going to take that land back. So the news that we're seeing is very, very significant. Then there's one more that I want to point out to you. Muslim Brotherhood takes credit for Egypt border attack. Now, the Muslim Brotherhood in Egypt claimed responsibility on Sunday night for a shooting attack which targeted at an IDF patrol near the border with Israel. So you have Egypt with the Muslim Brotherhood making advances, at least trying to make advances against what they perceive as their enemy, Israel. So this is circumstantial evidence. Every single day we're seeing events like this just about now. And it's evidence showing what the Lord warned about, and we're heading in that direction. Now eventually that war will be fought. Let me get rid of this. That war will be fought, and you will see the very people that the Lord mentioned in this scripture will attack Israel, and Israel will win this war. Now, I don't care if you believe what I'm telling you now. I would rather that you would, because it's actually God telling us what's going to happen. But if you don't believe what he is saying, all I can say at this point is to watch what the Lord said, watch the outcome, and then when you see the outcome is coming to fruition, like the Lord pointed out in Psalm 83, then maybe it won't be too late for you at that point. If we still have time, you would definitely want to get on your knees and ask the Lord for forgiveness, because we're running out of time. So that's very, very significant news. Now I'm going to make another short video about Iran and Israel, because that is another prophecy that hasn't been fulfilled yet, and we know that that's going to come after the Psalm 83 in that Ezekiel war, and I think that is very, very important. So I want to connect the dots with that too. So God bless. This is Frank Demora from the End Times Research Ministry.